In the console? You should get something in the console. You should get something that says, you know, error or your data should appear. We'll come back and fix it. Don't worry. All right. It's just little piece parts, little pieces that we have to figure out. And believe it or not, it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't go to the page? You have to go to the page. Did you go to the page, Elena? You have to go to the page. I'll tell you, thank you for that. That's what it was. You got it now? You got data?
There's so many steps.
I know, I'm sorry. So what I went to here, Elena, take a look. I went up here and I went to TV shows list at the top. You have to put that in as a link. Up here, Elena? Right, yeah, so let's go back and review. So welcome back. I know it's a lot. Welcome back. We are COMP2112, that's advanced client-side scripting in the fall 2022 semester at Georgian, and it's week 10, part 3 of our broadcast and recording and review. What did we do last time? And a lot of moving parts in this one, right? A lot of moving parts. And this is where people get tripped up. Don't be tripped up. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, there's a lot of, I'm just going to close all this down and go through one thing at a time. So we had to move things to our public folder for data. The reason why the data had to be moved into the public folder from last time is because public is where our index.html is. Okay, that's where it's looking inside of our data folder, number one. Number two, we created a bunch of structures that we can reuse. That's what I made for you. One, we made our model, which is our TV show model. This is the first thing, right? After we made our data, we modeled our model after the data. This is our data. And then our model is, you know, showing only one piece of data. That's what our model does, just like you've learned in other courses. That's the first thing, okay? But then we have to make a service to read the data. Now, this is where everyone has a different way of doing it. And if you talk to my friend Andres, he might say, I don't know if I want to do it that way. And that's perfectly fine, because what I'm thinking about doing is reusing this. Now, if you're only doing it one time, he might be right. Fetch might be easier, right? But if I'm going to use Axios to do everything, to do authentication, to do all the stuff I'm going to do, I find it a little bit easier to do it this way, right? So in our HTTP common module, what this did is it set up Axios. This is what is representing an instance of Axios. And then my TV show, the TV show list data service, what it does, the only thing it does is just reads the array from my file. That's all it does. We're going to have another couple of things here we're going to add in eventually. We can't really do an update. Why can't we do an update? I mean, we can, but we can't, right? Because right now, the way it works is we actually play with actual data. We actually play with data. It's not in some kind of local storage or anything like that. We're actually playing with a file. So we can't update a file. We can't delete a file or anything from the file. We can't create. This stuff is only good for an API, right? So we're going to think about how to do this with what we have. But first, let's see if we can take our data that we read in from our TV show data service, and let's output it to our page. Because remember, what we did was we created a new root. Here's the new root, TV show list. It'd be nice if we have our TV show list root as a link in our pages. We don't have a link like that, TV show list, right? So we need to add that in too. So we have a few steps to finish before we get done. First, let's make a page that we can see our data. Let's do that first. Now this goes actually inside of our views TV show list. Let's go back to this. And remember when we put in that div tag, right here, this is just a placeholder for what we want to do. We have our data, my friends. We have our data from our TV shows. And this is where we get our data, right? So what I want to do is I want to be able to take that data that we have and actually kind of do something with it inside of our TV show list. Okay, all right, okay, I like it. So yeah, we can read our data, but then I want to do something with that list. I want to do something with our list. So here's what we're going to do. It's really simple. Take a look at this. I can console out for sure, but what if I said something like, I want to set, this is a beautiful thing here, my TV shows, here's my set my TV shows to that data. There it is in React. I've set up I'm using my state to set my TV shows, right, with the data that I just got. Now that I have it in a state variable, I can inject it anywhere I want, right? How do I do this, right? Well, I want to set up some stuff. Let's set up some things here in my div tag. So in my div tag, here's my div tag, right? I want to set up an H1. Here's some HTML we're going to do now, all right? I'm going to call this the TV shows list. There's our TV shows list. And I want a div tag with a class name of row. And inside that, I want a div tag with a class name of column, okay? So that's going to be our setup. Inside that, I want to be able to have some kind of table. All right, so I want to have a table, and let's use dot, which is going to be an abbreviation for class. We're going to change this up in a second, just to make it faster for me to do this. Table with a class of table dot table dash striped, table dash bordered, right, and table dash hover. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, understand. CSS.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so there it is. Table stripe, table border, table hover. Where is this from? Well, this is from our Bootstrap styles, right? So if I go to get Bootstrap, right? And if I was to look at our docs, and if I was to look at components, down here, and if I looked at table, right? So where is it actually? Is it under table or is it under here? Maybe it's under content. Where is it? It should be its own thing, but maybe I'm right. There, here it is, tables. Yeah. And then, so this is what I did. I kind of said, I set up a, table with a class of table. And what you can do is you can add more, you can add more classes. So it looks like this, table striped. So this is what a striped table would look like, right? And then I also wanted a couple of other things here, right? Where I wanted it to hover, where I can hover over like this, a hoverable table. I want all this stuff to be there, right? So that's where I did table stripe, table hover, all those things that I put in there in my code. I use Bootstrap for this. So that's all this stuff, okay? Next, once I've got my table hover, table thing or whatever, I want to create another part. There's two parts of a table, right? There's a table head, right? And my table head will be, I want a table head with the class of table dark. Okay, so table head with a class of table dark. And inside my table head, I want a table row, right? And inside my table row, now this is a beautiful thing. Take a look at this. Inside my table row, I want a table header, right? Sorry, a table head, right? With a times 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5, 5. There it is. So that's what I want. Let me show you that again. So table row, inside of that, I want a table header with five copies of this table header, right? And what you can do is you can say something like, well, I also want something called a scope, which is a column. So if I click on this, it's going to make. I didn't quite do it. I want to see if I can do something like. What was that?
Just after the so-called and perspective, so it was
Okay, let's try that again. Let's make sure you're right. Times 5. There we go. So it makes 5 of those things. Now the first one, I want to add a class for the first one only. So I'll say class name is equal to text center. And that is going to be a hashtag for that. Right? And then this one for the header is going to be the TV show. Right? And then the next one, we're going to set up as the studio. I'm also going to add a couple of extra columns because later on I want to have a edit and a delete button. I don't have an edit delete button, but I want to set those up right now as extra columns. Okay. So that is the first part of our header. So this is going to show up all the time. Okay. So if I was to print this out just like this, if I go back to my code and just, or my page and take a look at it, then it's going to show this. Okay. Now, the problem with this is it takes up the entire time, the entire surface. And I don't want that. I want it so that it has some centering, right? Because it takes column, row, all this kind of stuff. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stuff in here, right? So if I go back, how do I do it where I only want my X number of columns to be in here. But because remember something else, whenever we do any of this work, right, then inside of a regular component, like in my views, and if I go to views.home, in my views.home, I have a class name of container, right? See this class name of container? I need to put this class name of container at the top of everything else too. So going back to that, then here, I want to surround this div tag with the class name of container. So class name of container. Okay, and let's see what that does when I save. So if I go back now, you can see that this is my table, my list. Okay, and it's a dark list, and I want all my data. So I've just done the header. That's what this part is, the header of my data right here. Okay, that's the first part. Now what I need for that is, I remember I'm going to use what we did last time. Remember that map function that we did? This is a perfect place to use the map function because then we can read everything in our table and loop through it all recursively, right? And so I know Andres is nodding his head saying, yeah, I knew this was coming, right? Because he knows, right? So inside of here, underneath the table header, I want the table body. So this is table body, right? And the table body is going to have inside of it, this is where I'm going to add in my repeatable region. So this is my repeatable rows in here, okay? So I'm going to make some curly braces and this, put some stuff in here. This is my repeatable rows. And by the way, this region that we have in here, right, is what I'm going to make with my section. So the way it works is I need to surround the whole thing with curly braces. And I want to say something like this. First, do I have a contact list or a TV show list? So if I go something like TV show list, TV shows, do I have it? Do I have TV shows? If I do, and I'm going to say TV shows, oh my God, TV shows dot map, right? I want to map. I'm going to pass in the 2 parts I'm going to pass in is the type that I want. I want a TV show. So TV, I'm going to say TV show like this, okay? Of type TV show. That's the first type. The type is a TV show, followed by, right, my index, which is going to be a number. And then what I'm going to say is, I'm going to take that map function, and that map function is going to output, right, everything that I want in here, okay? Now, I have to be clear on how this works. This has to return something in here, inside here altogether, right? So again, I want to return a new object. And the new object is going to be a table row, right? And inside the table row itself, the key that I'm going to have in here, let's make a table row. And the key inside the table row I have to mention, which is going to be the key, is the index. I have to do this or else it's going to give me an error, remember? And then inside of that, what I want is a table header, right? And again, it's going to be very similar to what I had before. And inside the table header, right, it's just one table header by itself. The scope, in this case, is going to be row, right? And the class name, let's make some more room here. The class name is going to be text center. And my data is going to be whatever the index is plus 1. So if the index starts at 0, it's going to be 1 starting off, okay? And then underneath that, I want my table data. So TD, right? And my table data is going to just have, the first one is going to have my TV show dot title. Look how it came up, right? And I want to inject the TV show title in this area, followed by, I want to inject the TV show dot studio. That's it. And that's my repeatable row. Let's take away some of these spaces so you can see it a little bit easier. And you can see it all at once. So I put extra spaces in here so you can see it, but you don't need extra spaces in here now. All right, that's from the top. Let's go do this. So first we have our table head, right? That we already saw that part, right? Then what we do is we check to see, do we even have data? That's what this part does. If we don't have data, we skip out of this whole thing. That's why we use this and this. This is a check to see, do I have data? All right. If I have data, then I want to map. I want to use the map function because my data is in form of an array, right? TV shows, if you think what they are, I set TV shows up here at the top, TV shows, right? TV shows is an array of TV show. That's what it is. So that's what's being stored in here. Set TV shows we're doing when we're reading from the data. We're reading the data and we're setting the TV shows. We're piling in, we're pouring the data into our TV shows variable right here. This is where it's being stored. And then what I'm doing is after I've made my table body, I want to make a repeatable section where I can make a number of rows. I'm going to repeat or create a bunch of new rows. Notice this part here has another return. What I'm doing actually here is making an anonymous component. I could actually make this into a separate component into another place called TV show row. That could be my component. And I can inject my TV show row in here, where I can use a prop called, my TV show. I can pass it into the TV show component and it actually will output all this stuff over and over again. We're not going to do that yet, but we're going to do that another day. For now, I'm using this return because I'm actually making an anonymous TV show component that I'm injecting into here. That's what I'm doing. And I'm doing this for every component. It's almost like I'm doing a for each loop where I'm looping through for every TV show. I'm looping through and outputting this stuff. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Line 52, you're going to need double quotes. So she's going to be right over
52 right here?
right. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. I don't need, you mean just put this?
Right.
Yeah, otherwise we'll have a problem. Yeah. Save. Thank you for that. All right, so let's do it. Let's see how that looks. Can we see it? The data, and ta-da, there's our data. Now, if you don't understand how this is done, who doesn't understand, first of all, how this is done, right? But this is what I want you guys to do for this week for in-class exercise. All right. I want to be able to at least be able to read my data from our file. And we're using React to do this. Here's something that's a beautiful thing. If I was to change the data and add more data, right, it would add to this file. Now, here's the bad thing about this, right? The bad thing about it is right now it's coming from a file. What we want to do to manipulate this is when we first start off, I want to load my data for the first time into I want to read it for the first time. And once I read my data for the first time, I want to inject it into my local storage. That's what I want to do. Remember, we played with local storage before, right? If it's in my local storage, then what I'd rather do when I put my data into my local storage is I can manipulate local storage, and I can mock up what it looks like to add, delete, and all that, and update and all those things. Right now, I can't do anything. I can't touch my data.json file. I can't do that here. For now, let's put this up on GitHub, and then we'll talk about the process. How are we doing online? How about the people that were with me online? Did you guys get this working? Displayed data in just supposed to say display data, git push. Did you guys do it? People online? I see Kyle says yes. Is that true, Kyle? How about everyone else? Okay, Alex is good. So again, one more time. So all I did was I expanded upon all the stuff that we did here, okay? So what I did was I added it a container, and then inside of here, I made the table with a header and a repeatable row section that took the table, the TV shows array, and used a map function, the array map function. I passed in a couple of things that we need. It's almost like a for each loop. That's what it is. It loops for every piece of data that we have in our TV shows list that we saved in the data.json file up here. For every one of these things, right? It loops through for every one and it outputs. Tyler says it checks to see if we have data almost like an if. It does. Yeah, that's that part. That's the first part, Hamid. It says basically, hey, do I have data? Because what if we tried to do this TV shows map and there wasn't any data at all? It would actually error out, right? So what this does here is it says, do I have data? If I do, cool, then do this. That's what this does. That's why it's a little, I don't know, I want to call it a hack. That's what it is. It's a hack because it says, check to see, do I have data first? I do, great, and I'll do this. And it's actually going to return true. That's what it's going to do, right? So, all right. So now this is good, but we need some stuff. Okay, Sarah says, confirming the reason we can use tvshow.title and tvshow.studio is because we made them an object. Correct, because we mentioned them here. See right here? Where we said the interface is of type TV show. That means TV show itself knows that title and studio are there. Alex says, how come mine's displaying twice?
Yeah, mine too.
Inside the page? Shouldn't. Should only display once in here. If it displays twice in here, you've done something else that you should only see it once in here, right? So here, that's a different story. I get it displayed a bunch of times, array, right? And if you do that, you can see that I only get it in once in here, right?
My file is doubled up on page, and then I refresh the page and went back to single.
Good. Yeah. Should only display once, but why does it display? Why does it do double in the console? What does it do this? Why do you think it's doing this? If I'm outputting twice, that means I'm going there twice. Why? Well, that means yeah, so Sarah did that. It's the asynchronous nature of JavaScript, but there's another reason why this is happening. And let's trace it a little bit, huh? Well, here, let's take a look at what's happening here, right? I'm console logging out once, right? Here's once. But this TV shows is being read twice. Use effect is doing that, right? Read TV shows is going to be done in use effect. Use effect actually reads TV shows twice. We did that. Here it is right here, right? So why is it that this empty thing doesn't do what it's supposed to do, right? Remember, it only works. It should only work once in here. So what is it? What's another reason why we can put in here? Why can you make it do it once? How about Andres? Can you make it do it once? Do you have a dependency? Oh, way back, and that's going to make it go away. Okay. He's talking about way back over here, right? where strict mode is on right now. If you delete the strict mode, this is from the root renderer. We may have to recharge our page for a second after we do this. But if we take this away and if we press save, right, then if it rejigs everything, I wonder if it's going to crash. And if I go here, Control Shift J, then you can see we only get it once. Yeah, yeah, perfect. We did that. We did I mean, this is something else. We did everything right. It was just, I used strict mode, and that's why I did it twice. Okay. Okay, so now next thing, one thing we need to do now is now that we've got the data, we need to have a link, right? Because TV shows doesn't have a link, right? It does, we just have to go there manually. Like if I go here, home, about, whatever, there's nothing here to take me back to TV shows. I need a TV shows link in my main navigation. So let's do that now. So in my main navigation, this is the last thing we're going to do for today. In my main navigation, if I go into my views components and go to header, we need to add another component in here for where my stuff is going to show up. So let's think about this. I go home, about, project, services, contact, and maybe I want to have my contact list at the end. So let's kind of put that at the end of the list. Like here, there's my contact list. Okay. And I want to put in TV show list. So TV shows dash list, because that is the name of my, in my app.tsx. If you look here, we have TV shows dash list. That is the link, right? And we want to put that link here in the header. Now we need some additional things here. One is we need to let it know that the ID is TV shows. Okay, I mean, I'm putting this in there for us, right? And here in your class name, an envelope probably is not the right thing. We need to find another icon. But here we want to have something like TV shows list, TV shows list. Okay, that's what it's going to be. That's the new link. So let's see if we can find a icon that makes sense for this, right? So I say something like, we'll go to Font Awesome. And let's see if we can find a list icon, which would be nice, right? So if I go here and I type in list, right? Maybe we'll find an icon. We'll make sure that it's also free. We don't want to use something. I like this heavier list, right? Now it's a TV show list, and maybe there's something else that we can find, like a media list or something else like that, that's like a little bit more descriptive of an icon. But if I go, you know, kind of media, right? And I put that in there, we have sliders, but there really isn't a, you know, something that makes sense here that I can see. Maybe there's something that you might find that's better. And you can also, we can talk about how to make our, well, here's something else. It says photo film. Maybe something like photo. We'll also look at movies, right? So images, so multiple images. That's cool. How about movies or say movie, right? Movie. So that's something we can have too. We have, you know, kind of one of those. There is film. That might be good, right? Maybe that's the closest thing we want to use, like a film list. Cool. Let's use this one. Class, FA solid, FA film. Okay, I don't have to copy that. I can remember it. That's only one thing. And I go back here, it's where it says FA solid, FA film, oops, FA film, and replace my envelope with something that looks like a film. Save. Once I've done this, my header has been updated. And if I go back to my pages, now you're going to see this TV shows list over here. And if I click onto it, then I can see my TV shows list. This is the last thing I want to do, guys, for today. And I want to go through questions with the people that are here before I go, and anyone online. TV is good too, Sarah. I like that too, right? But a TV show list is fine. All right, let's put this up on GitHub, and then we're done for the day. Now we have more work to do. Next time we have to do the rest of it. We'll say added TV shows link to header. All right, any questions before we go for the day? How about for the people online? I'll start with you guys. Questions, comments? Would you have done this the same way? Is this confusing for you? If it is, remember, we've just paid the cost up front. We never have to do this again. All those things we set up is one time. All we need to do now is add more functions to do create, update, and delete. That's it. And the other thing we have to think about is how we're going to put this up in local storage to play, just to play around, because we can't do the create, update, and delete from our file, right? Amit says, it is confusing. You're going to rewatch it. Okay, good. You can rewatch it. Any other questions from people online? All right, that's it for me for the people online. What about for the people in class? How are we doing in class? From Sarah? You guys good?
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, guys, that's it for today. Then I will see you guys next week. Good luck with in-class exercise. Oh, Tyler says, have a question for assignment 2. Go. What's your question? Thanks a lot, Kyle. How do we deploy the React app on render.com? Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a new thing. Okay, so what we need to do, right? Thank you for that. That's something I totally missed today. And I should add that into the thing here, not that. This is how to deploy. Yeah, that'd be good. React to render.com. That's something we have to kind of think about as well. How do we do that? So it's actually not so bad. First, we have to make on render.com, we have to make a project. So we're going to go to render.com really quickly. Now it takes some time. We make time out here, but man, I totally forgot that. That's my bad. So I want to go to my dashboard. And when I go to my dashboard, I want to make a project. Now, there's different kinds of projects. This is not a service. It's just a site, static site. So I'm going to make a brand new static site. So here it is. And I need to have a name for the repository, right? So I need to have a place where it's going to get the information, right? So that means that I need to put this up like we did last time, right? So if I made a brand new static site, we did that last time. Remember, if I go back to my dashboard, we have COMP2112 midterm tests, and we have some kind of live site right here. Let's use the same live site we did already and replace the where it's pointing from. So if I go back to live site, just as an example, right? Then how this works is, well, it's gonna get it from the same spot, right? So I want to replace the data that's in here with my new live site data. Here's how we do it. Really simple, super simple for if you already have something on your live site. I want to replace my data here with what I'm pointing to, right? So back to this. And if I go down to desktop, then I should have a live site project, right? I don't have that because I never downloaded it. Let's download it here for a second. I'm going to go to github.com, Georgian College. And if you notice that there is if I go to COMP2112, and if I go to, there it is, live site. So this is I need to replace all of this with my live site. Now you would be placing you'd make a new one, okay? Just like we did last time. Same way we did it last time, okay? But for me, I'm just gonna replace this to make it quick. So I'm gonna kind of copy this, and I'm gonna go into here. Let's do it through here, and I'll kind of go up one level, and I'll say git clone, and then right click. So I'm going to grab that live site stuff. There it is. And that gives it to me right here. That gives me my live site right here. I want to replace this stuff with my build. So one thing we can do with React is we can create a build really quickly. And this is how you can do it. I can say yarn build. And what yarn build does, how about I go into the right folder? Thanks, man. I'm recording this anyway, so you're good to go. All right. How about we just kill this and make another one? There we go. So I want to say yarn build. And what yarn build will do is it will create a build folder for us. Take a look. It's going to take a second, but what it's doing is it's actually going to create a build folder, right, inside of our application right here. And that build folder only has the static files that we need when it's done. So in here, you can see that it's starting to build up all the things we need, and including the data folder for us. It kind of does all that for us right away. There it is. That's all we need for the build folder. So now in our code or on our operating system, I want to wipe away all this stuff, not the Git folder, just the stuff that's in there. It's going to do its thing. And I'm going to go back to my week 10 and grab everything in my build folder only, copy it, and go back to our live site link here and paste it in. You should have a new repo for the assignment for the live site. Don't use the same one, please. Okay, and then once I have this, then I can just simply put this up on GitHub for me. Now you would make a brand new repository and do the same steps we did for render last time. But for me, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this back up to the same repository. And this is more indicative of what you would do is if you had a client site that you're updating. Okay, so I would do a git add dot git commit -m. I'll say added week 10 files. And then I can just simply git push. And if everything works properly, then as soon as I push, render.com is watching my live site and it should update. Let's go back to render and see what that looks like. Not this one. This one. So if I go to my live site, you can see that deploy started. And it's actually watching my stuff here, and it's going to redeploy my site right here into render. Just like normal. You got to give it a sec. So when it's done, it's going to redeploy. And once it's ready, it's going to show you its new site. But thank you for that, Tyler. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. I totally forgot. That's my bad. And thank you, Andres, for all your help today as well. And thanks, Sarah. We're waiting for this. Otherwise, I would have to answer your questions anyway. All right, good. So it looks like it's good. And if everything is working, it says it's live. I should be able to click here and it should work. Should work. And if we go to show contact list, we're good to go. That's live. Guys, thank you so much. All right. Take care and we'll see each other next week. Thank you. Thank you.